This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 95. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host that definitely doesn't know the most. It's me, it's Andy Hopper, checking in once again on this glorious, glorious day. It is Monday, January 10th, the day that will go down in history. Matt Nagy is no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Let's double it up. Ryan Pace is no longer the GM. The Bears have axed that regime, and we are heading towards a new era in Chicago at Hallis Hall. I am so excited about this move. I have been asking for this for like 2 years. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. We are like Dora the Explorer in this bitch. We did it. Yeah, we fired Nagy and Pace too. Let's go. So here to help me break this down today is one of my good friends, a great friend of the program, another podcaster, another huge Bears fan. She has an awesome podcast about the Bears that you should be listening to every week, 2 episodes per week during the season. I believe in the offseason it goes down to just 1. So with the end of the regular season, it probably will be just 1 episode, but awesome content nonetheless from the Bear Down Girl podcast. Long time friend of the show, Katelynne Lener, is going to join me in just a little bit to give her thoughts on the firing, on their tenure, on what's next, Justin Fields, all of that good stuff. We're going to be discussing it here in just a little bit with the one and only Katelynne Lener from the Bear Down Girl podcast. Cannot wait to get her thoughts. I got off early today, so I had time to record. Luckily, she was available. Perfect timing. So I woke up. I'm not going to spoil too much from the interview. I'm not going to talk too much about because I don't want to, double up here. But I will say the news came this morning. I just started my new job today. I was getting in the car this morning. On my phone, pops up the ESPN notification. The Bears have fired Matt Nagy. Immediately started celebrating. I went to work a couple hours later. I look and see Ryan Pace has been fired as well. And it was really hard not to just start screaming in the middle of my new job. Pure joy. Absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. And let me tell you why. Because the last 7 years have been mediocre. The Bears are 48-65 over the last 7 years. That is Ryan Pace's tenure. I believe they're 34-33 over the past 4 with Matt Nagy at the helm, with only 1 winning season in the last 7 years. That was the 12-4 double doink year. We definitely don't want to get into that. Other than that, 8-8, obviously 6-11. John Fox was here for the first 3 years of Pace's tenure, I believe, and those were all 5-11, 6-10, 5-11 again, I think. So just nothing good. It's been mediocre. We've all watched it. We've all seen it. Not many GMs get 5 quarterbacks that they get a chance on. Not many of them get to pay Mike Glennon $18.5 million. Not many guaranteed. Not many of them get to draft Trubisky at 2 overall and then sign Andy Dalton. It's like when it's that meme where you see the big like cracked wall and they're just covering it with duct tape, like that's gonna do anything. It's just dumpster fire, and it's finally over. We've been calling for it to be over. I've been calling for it to be over for like 2 years. They finally fucking did it. Hey, do Ted Phillips and the McCaskies next. Sell the team. I don't have my sell the team shirt on, but 6-11 finish for the Bears. They lose, 31-17 to the Vikings on Sunday. They were up 14-3 at halftime. I sent a text to my friend Tom Scavetta. There was like a minute left in the second quarter. It was right before the Vikings kicked their field goal before halftime. I said, Bears up 14-0 on Tom's Vikings. Obviously, he is he's the host of Big Blue Avenue. He's a huge Giants fan, but he self-proclaimed closeted Vikings fan. He's got a soft spot for the Vikings. Shout out to our guy Gabe Flayton, by the way, while we're at it. Anyway, after I sent that text, the Bears got outscored 31-3. Final score was like 31-17. So yeah, what a fitting way for Nagy to go out. I mean, talk about the multiple fourth and shorts where we absolutely should just be handing the ball off to David Montgomery, who was averaging over 4 yards per carry. But no, let's run a pass play and have Andy Dalton run 20 yards backwards and then just fall down and get sacked. Not great. Not great at all. But it's over. It's over, and it is such a good feeling. I don't want to be happy about people losing their job, but I am happy about these two people losing their job because they suck. Just not good at all. But it's a new era. I'm super excited for you guys to hear what me and Katelynne had to say about it, who we think should be next at head coach, and we throw out a couple GMs as well. What this means for Fields, all of that good stuff. But it was a wild NFL Week 18, and I mean not just the games on the field. And Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace were not the only ones who were informed. They are no longer employed this weekend. Obviously, we had Urban Meyer, but that was like a month and a half ago, so I'm not going to count that one. Technically, the Jags job is still open, so I guess we do count it. But then after Saturday's loss for the Broncos, Vic Fangio gets fired. Mike Zimmer up in Minnesota has lost his job, as well as their GM there. And then the most shocking one, the Miami Dolphins fired Brian Flores, which does not make sense to me at all. They've finished with a winning record for the past 2 seasons. This year they did start 1-7, but they won 8 of the last 9 games, including 7 in a row. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. What he did, I believe I saw a report that said that there were disagreements or something with him and the GM, or maybe it was the owner, something like that. Someone that has been with the Dolphins for longer than he has. But it just does not feel right. The Dolphins are going to regret this move, and B-Flow is absolutely somebody I think the Bears should have on the phone right now. He should be one of the top candidates immediately for Chicago. I mean, if he wants to come, but I mean, if we're to rank the open jobs right now, Bears, Jaguars, Minnesota, Broncos, and Miami. What's the most attractive job? I would argue it could be Chicago with Justin Fields and getting to mold this young quarterback. And I don't want to say fix him because I don't really think this season and his performance is something that can be fully judged. There are things that he did that you like. There definitely are things he did that I don't like the turnovers. He's definitely going to have to take care of the ball more than he did. But hopefully we get somebody in here that actually has Justin Fields' best interests in their mind, because I really don't believe that this staff did at all this season. So other than the Bears, actually the last thing, I really hope it was McCaskey that fired them. I hope it was Virginia McCaskey. I hope it was her. If it was, I just imagine her like the fucking Donald Trump from The Apprentice in the big red chair. That's all I want is, you're fired. You're fired. And that was terrible. I'm sorry you had to hear that or see that, but you fired. Okay? They were fired. They're gone. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace are gone. Before we get into the interview with Katelynne Lener, let's talk about NFL Week 18 really quick. Not too much I have here, but there are a couple games I feel like we got to talk about because it was just the perfect way to end the NFL season, just with a wacky Week 18. So, I mean, the Jaguars set all of the chaos up, and the Colts played themselves out of the playoff. Carson Wentz is going to Carson Wentz. I don't know why Frank Reich just continued to let Carson Wentz have the ball in his hands. Feed Jonathan Taylor. He's the best running back in the league because Derrick Henry's hurt. Why are you not giving him more touches? The Jaguars pretty much dominate. It really was never close. 26-11 is the final score. Also, Jonathan Taylor was the only one from I had a touchdown prop parlay. Jonathan Taylor was the only one that didn't fucking score. And he had the steepest odds, too, which you gotta love that. I had a 5-leg. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown, Damian Harris. Fuck. Dead air. It was obviously Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle, I think. No, I had Jalen Waddle's over on yards. Anyway, picked 5 of them. Only 4 of them hit. Jonathan Taylor was the one that didn't. That's all that matters. But the Colts, like a week or two ago, we're talking about them as like a 2 or a 3 seed or a team that nobody wants to see, and now they've completely played their way out of the playoffs. Hilarious. Ravens and the Steelers. That's another one that went to overtime. Another one we thought might be tied. Shitty weather in Baltimore. And, of course, Big Ben gets it done because that's what everybody wants to see is more Big Ben. And Steelers fans, too. Yes, I mean, he is hilarious. He is hilarious to watch. He's so washed up, though. He's so bad. Like, I really just wish it would have been Herbert. And the Chargers, not the Steelers. I'm sorry. I don't know. TJ Watt, incredible. Shout out to you breaking the sack record. Really, really impressive because he did miss games too, so he didn't even play the full extra game, or I think he missed 2 games actually. Not sure, but shout out to him. Fuck you, Big Ben. I really don't give a fuck about your going away tour and this bullshit. Anyway, Steelers 16, Ravens 13. So that set it up. We needed the Jaguars to beat the Colts. We needed the Steelers to beat the Ravens. Well, yeah, I think we needed the Steelers to beat the Ravens. Then, if the Chargers and Raiders had a little under-the-table handshake agreement, we tie, we're both in. Everyone all week on Twitter was talking about how we need a kneel off. Let's make this 90-minute football game tie. You guys win a handshake. You're both in. Because, I mean, come on. You do whatever it takes to get your team into the playoffs, right? No, unfortunately, we didn't get a kneel off. We got an actual football game, actual real good football game. The Chargers were up 14-0. Then they go down 29-14. They come all the way back in the fourth quarter, including like an 18-play drive, all passes. With like, it felt like every completed pass was like on 4th and 10 or like a 4th down conversion or something like that. And they storm all the way back, tie it at 29-29, pretty much at the buzzer. I think, again, on fourth down. It might have been on 4th down again. I don't even know, but it felt like it was just incredible. Justin Herbert was making these throws that you just wouldn't believe. He's incredible. He's so fun to watch, which is why I wish we were seeing him, a superstar quarterback, in his prime in the playoffs with, I don't know, I guess I can't even say a more deserving team just because when you let the Raiders run all over you like they did and your defense struggles as much as they did, not just in this game but throughout the year, maybe they weren't as deserved. When your head coach makes head-scratching decisions throughout the season, maybe they weren't. And it's not even the weird fourth down calls. 'Cause I like being aggressive. But there were a couple games there where he screwed his team out of wins from his decisions, and this could be one of them. In overtime, it's tied 32-32. Both teams had already kicked a field goal. Next score wins, but the time is running down. The Raiders are obviously just running the ball. They're just running the ball. They're running the clock out. They seem to be content with the tie. It's like 3rd and 4. Play clock's running down. Looks like the Chargers' defense isn't completely set. The Raiders were about to snap the ball. Staley calls a timeout. I don't know what for. I guess to set, guess there's a couple schools of thought. Like, was it to reiterate to his defense you need one stop to make the playoffs for the tie? I don't know. I just don't know what he was thinking with the timeout. Like, the Raiders were standing around letting the play clock go all the way down before snapping it, and they were going to run the ball. I guess Staley was like, if they get the first down, they could kick the field goal, but it didn't seem. It just seemed like they were going to run it. Seemed like they were going to kneel it, and they were going to tie. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not there. I don't work for the Raiders. I don't work for the Chargers. I wasn't on the field, so I don't know exactly what was going to happen. But it just felt like a real bonehead move. Also, it probably shouldn't all be on Staley. His defense was just absolutely getting gashed. You probably shouldn't let Josh Jacobs run all over you when you absolutely need to stop him. I mean, he was running all over him pretty much the whole game anyways. But yeah, so the Raiders end up winning this wild game on a last-second field goal, 35-32. Over the Chargers when it really looked like everybody was actually going to get the tie they were talking about that would have sent both teams in. So the Chargers out, Raiders and Steelers in. The other crazy game I wanted to talk about was the 49ers and the Rams. 49ers 27, Rams 24. This is the first time in Sean McVay's career as the Rams head coach that he has lost after leading at halftime. The Rams were up 17-0. Jimmy G has an awesome second half for the 49ers and brings San Francisco all the way back, tie the game in overtime. They're up 27-24. Rams with the ball. They need a field goal to tie or a touchdown to win. Stafford gets picked deep. Pass intended for Odell Beckham. Don't worry, he didn't try to punch anybody in the butthole this time. At least they didn't catch that part on tape. But really rough for the Rams. And the Rams end up winning the division title because Seattle picks up a win over Arizona. Arizona's kind of limping into the playoffs. But if you're the Rams, the division title's awesome, but that loss is not great. And you start to question Matthew Stafford and his decision-making because these past few weeks have been very, very questionable with some of these throws that he's made. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback, but I think and I don't want to start is the moment too big for Matthew Stafford narratives because I don't think that's the case either. I think sometimes you just get what you get with him. You get what you get. And I don't know if it's going to be enough for the Rams to make a run in this playoffs. It feels like we have other teams, especially in the NFC. Like I don't think I could pick the Rams to beat the Packers right now, as much as that sucks. I don't think they'd beat the Tampa. I don't think they'd beat Tampa again. Shout out to Cooper Kupp though. I think most receiving yards, touchdowns, and receptions in a single season carried me to a fantasy championship. By the way, absolutely love that for me. Fantasy champion and NFL Pick and Pool champion in one season. I feel like the smartest man alive. This has been like 18 minutes though of me, and we want to get some good stuff with Katelynne. So let's get you to it. So from the Bear Down Girl podcast, the one and only Katelynne Lener. You guys know sports betting season is in full swing. We've got the NFL playoffs are here. The NBA is back. The NHL is here. College basketball. The list goes on. You need a sports book to play some action on all this stuff, huh? How about you head over to BetUS Sportsbook, betus.com. That's BETUS.com. Enter promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS Sportsbook, they've been in the sports betting industry for over 30 years, paying their customers out quickly with awesome bonuses and with a lot of integrity. Who doesn't love a little integrity, am I right? They've got a race book. They've got a casino. They have live betting. They have props. They have futures. Literally any bet type you could imagine, they have it over at BetUS Sportsbook. So go to BETUS.com. Enter promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus and start getting paid. BetUS Sportsbook. You bet, you win, you get paid. Promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus. Here we are. We are back once again on the Brew Party podcast. This is episode number 95, and I'm joined once again by a great friend of the program, a longtime friend of the program, recurring guest, fellow Bears fanatic, Bears podcaster. You guys know her from the Bear Down Girl podcast. The one and only Katelynne Lener is back. She joins the party because it's, a happy day in my eyes. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace have officially been let go by the Chicago Bears, a day people have kind of been waiting for all season. I know I was calling for it at certain points last year, but Katelynne, Thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling about everything?
Well, I'm not surprised because we all expected this to happen today. I was super happy, and then George McCaskey had to do a press conference, and then my mood went completely down. So, um, I don't even know what to feel right now.
I don't either. It's like we do something good. It's like them on the field. They do something good and then they shoot themselves in the foot immediately. Absolutely. So quickly before we get into it, I know you have a schedule change coming up for your podcast. You want to just plug that real quick and tell everybody where they can find you, everything Bear Down Girl.
Sure, yeah. So I am going to drop tomorrow. I'm going to record the recap for this last game of the regular season for the Bears. But starting with the whole off season, I'm going to be dropping an episode per week, each on Sunday. Probably during the afternoon at some point, you'll see it pop up. Basically, just gonna discuss all these off-season moves, talk about the future, all that good stuff, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Bear Down Girl Pod. But it's also I drop the episodes on iTunes. So if you have Apple phone, listen to the podcast out there, or Spotify if you like Spotify, and then Podbean app. So different avenues for
Absolutely.
you to listen. So stay tuned. So I'm technically going to be dropping 2 episodes this week, but a lot of content.
Lots of content. Absolutely. I say it all the time. If you're a Bears fan, Katelynne is a must follow, especially even her personal account, her live tweets of the Bears game. I agree with pretty much everything she says. She definitely, you have the takes, I think, as you have said on this show before. But anyway, let's get into some of those takes. Make sure you check out Bear Down Girl Pod wherever you get your podcast. Check her out on Twitter as well. So Matt Nagy is gone for his tenure, 4 years as the Bears head coach. He finishes 34-33 overall. That's including the 2 playoff losses. The 2018 Coach of the Year in the NFL, which is so wild to think about at that point. And he has 1 winning season, 12-4 in 2018, 8-8, 8-8, then 6-11. How will Matt Nagy be remembered in Bears history?
I think to me, he's going to be remembered as somebody who is a nice guy, but just couldn't cut it as an offensive mind. And then he kind of got figured out after his first year. And that I think his stubbornness, his ego was his downfall because he couldn't get out of his own way or try to recreate the offense to kind of show the strengths of the players. He just kept going with his offense and never would adapt or change or make adjustments. And then that pretty much, this last game, it was basically microcosm where no halftime adjustments get made. He's not running the football when you should run the football. He's trying to overthink, do too many cute things. It's just like it's like he has to be different just to be different. Even with the whole, like, let's not have the same captains every week. Let's change the captains every week. Like he, it just felt like a sideshow towards the end. It started out as a good, the first year it was like, oh, club dub, this is all great, all these trick plays, it's fun. And then he didn't make any adjustments, and he hasn't made adjustments since, and he's been stuck in his own ways. So that's pretty much his whole legacy for the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely. One of the more stubborn head coaches I think I have ever seen. There was every press conference each week, he was good for one clip that's probably going to go viral because he said something stupid. It'll be nice to get that out. Let's talk about his boss, Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace also fired as well. So I just started a new job today. So I got in my car this morning, and the first thing I saw was Matt Nagy fired by the Chicago Bears. And I got to work, been a couple hours. I didn't see anything about Pace, and I was like, oh no, are they going to keep him? I open up Twitter. That's like the first thing I see. I'm like, oh my God, I get so excited. They actually did it. They actually cleaned house. So Ryan Pace, in his 7 years as the GM, the Bears are 48-65, 0-2 in the playoffs, 1 winning season. John Fox was 6-10, 3-13, and 5-11, I think. And then, like I said, Nagy was 12-4, 8-8, 8-8, and 6-11. So really, we haven't really we've been relevant like once or twice in the past 7 years. How much of this do you blame on Ryan Pace? Because I think Nagy gets a lot of blame for the performance on the field. Pace also has to be in the conversation here because he's the one filling out the roster, bringing these guys in, and that was a huge question. Was the Bears' depth this year, and the past few years actually.
Yeah, with Ryan Pace, I do see the good things he did bring. Like the way they drafted, like their late round steals, and just like the last couple years. I mean, so many starters we got in these last couple draft years. But I think that's not all that makes a good GM. It's about free agency, what you do there, the kind of contracts you give out to players, and then the way he handled the cap situation and all these like players that he would sign in, like, I mean, the Mike Glennon situation, all the money he gave to him. And of course, he is a part of the Mitchell Trubisky era. He's the one who moved up and,
Took him
traded away all those picks.
Mitch,
like
Matt Nagy wasn't on my shirt.
Matt Nagy wasn't a part of that. Yeah. Matt Nagy was not a part of that. That's on Ryan Pace. So that started the whole pretty much downfall for him. And then the whole 2017 draft with the quarterback situation, Mike Glennon signing him, and then all these other, they never really figured out the tight end position. They,
had 11 guys in the room at one point.
And then just a way to just upset your veteran players, like, even though Allen Robinson was super frustrating this year, prior he was like one of the best things about our team. And they found a way to really just piss him off. And then this is what we see from him this year because he's just kind of probably fed up at that point.
Just done, right?
Even Akeem Hicks, we're hearing about this lately. It's just like all these vets that they decided not to pay who deserve to get paid. And then you have all these suspect contracts they're handing out to these free agents. So it's just like, I think that's what led to Ryan Pace being fired. And unfortunately, like, yeah, you might get some good draft picks here and there, but I think we're kind of in a rut, in a hole right now in terms of our cap situation. Like, I don't know how we're going to fill out this roster. He really left us with a bunch of trash and that we got to clean up. So I don't even know. So he definitely, the way this roster is built, he deserves like the majority of, the blame for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I love what you said about the late round draft picks because literally I can't think of anything else he's done well. I mean, drafting Justin Fields, I did like that, but he did give up, I mean, obviously so much draft capital. Like we don't have a first round pick this next year. So we have a tough cap situation. So the new GM is going to have to navigate free agency with, not a lot of money. Not going to have as many draft picks to use as well. I mean, but who knows if they move anybody. But then now you do have guys like, if you would have told me a year ago, I think I tweeted this at you that A-Rob would just be, we'd just be letting him walk and I'd be perfectly okay with it. I would have told you you're crazy. Like you're right. He was one of the best parts of our team. He was our number one guy. And then you had Mooney there. I'm glad that Mooney has, flourished the way he did, but it was just really weird. I don't know if I've ever seen that where a guy, it just feels like it was a mutual just phasing out of the offense where he's like, you don't have to throw me the ball. And we're like, all right, we don't care.
Yeah.
And then Akeem Hicks, I thought I saw him say something earlier this year about, just wanting to finish out his time in Chicago playing good football. And he was ready for the next chapter, which that makes me sad because he's incredible. There's questions on the defensive line as well. So if we lose him, do you keep Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack? Like, would you have to go get somebody else? The secondary needs help. We need another receiver if we're losing Allen Robinson. So you're definitely right. There is a lot of work to be done. But let's talk about who might be getting that work done. So Matt Nagy was not the only head coach fired. One guy that was fired today that I was shocked about, I think I saw you tweet about him as well. I mean, who wasn't talking about this, but it's Brian Flores from the Miami Dolphins, a guy that I think could be a great fit here in Chicago. I didn't know. I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
So had some thoughts about who I wanted to be the next head coach, but when his name popped up and he got fired, I'm like, oh, it's done for me. That's the head coach for the Chicago Bears, because you think about the complete opposite in terms of just personality to Matt Nagy. I think that's what we need. We need somebody who's not going to be about the BS, not going to be all cutesy. There's no fluff with Brian Flores. It's just about go out there, work hard, and he's going to bring the toughness, the grit that apparently George McCaskey wants on this team. Anyway, but Brian Flores, I think he'll snuff out the dudes who don't really like put the effort in, because I think towards the end, Matt Nagy was just letting players get away with stuff,
Right.
and Flores ain't gonna let like half that shit fly, or if I
Right.
can say that word on here.
Of course.
Okay.
There's no rules. There's no rules. Language is perfectly okay. But yeah, it was just a guy that, like, when that rolled across my screen, I was like, wait, what? It just didn't make sense to me. Obviously, they start 1-7 this year, but they win 8 of their last 9 games, I think, and won like 7 in a row. Felt like he was building something there. And he does feel like a guy that's not going to come in here and do any quirky shit and be you and have all this shit. And he'll run the ball when it's 4th down and inches and you have a running back that's averaging 4 yards per carry. But it just, I said it on a podcast earlier today. It's like, I just want like somebody that's competent, like a competent football coach. You know what I mean? And I do think you're right. I think Nagy lost the locker room at a certain point this, it maybe near the end of last year, and definitely at some point this year. But Flores is a name here, a name that I'm not as excited about. And of course, it's always the ones that I'm not as excited about that seem to get the interviews or be thrown out here. So I saw this on Twitter, so we'll take it for what it is. Apparently, Doug Peterson is getting an interview. So former Super Bowl winning head coach. Didn't have the best exit in Philly. What do you think about that news? Yeah. That's all we had to say about it, if that's really
seriously, like,
I know.
Like deja vu. Like, did we just do this? Didn't we just like pluck from the Andy Reid tree? And we're gonna like, oh, it didn't work the first time. Let's just try this other guy. Like, it's gonna work this. Like, we've been here, done that. I don't want anyone from Andy Reid's tree anymore. He can have his little cute offense in Kansas City. We don't want any of his disciples. We don't want any of it. I don't even understand even just wasting your time interviewing him, because it's just like you would basically just be doing the same thing over again. And because Doug Peterson has, like, he's learned a lot from Andy Reid as well, and he would bring that cute stuff too. Like I remember seeing that thing where like they like, it's stupid, but like when he was with the Eagles, they'd always like, oh, let's get some ice cream. Like they do some like weird, cute, I don't know, just gimmick stuff. It's like I just want somebody who's going to be like all football. Like, these players are grown adults. They don't need somebody to motivate them to go out there and work hard. They don't need the like, oh, let's have an ice cream party. And then like, no, I don't want a coach like that who's going to be doing like the gimmicks and stuff. Or even like the supposed offensive guru. I'm kind of past that. Give me a good leader for head coach, and then we'll figure out who the coordinators are going to be. And then that's how we'll find somebody to develop Justin Fields. I'm not really obsessed with this notion of getting like an offensive guru, to be your head coach.
I like that. No, I like that take. And the whole Andy Reid thing's interesting because a name there who would be Eric Bieniemy. And he's a guy that I think has been deserving of a head coaching spot in the past, a guy that hasn't gotten one yet. But is it a similar thing here with Peterson? It's do we shy away from him? Because, that's what Nagy was. He was the Chiefs offensive coordinator when we hired him.
Yeah, I would stay away from anybody who's attached to Andy Reid. I just think it's just too close, too soon. And why even try that? It's just like, and unfortunately, for Eric, he's kind of, having to deal with the fact. I think a lot of the reason why people aren't hiring him is because of the fact that everybody else have seen all these previous coordinators that came from Andy Reid's team kind of fail. And get figured out. So they're probably assuming that the same thing is going to happen with him. So maybe that's why people are shying away from, hiring him. And I would honestly, just personally, just all we've dealt with the Nagy situation, I kind of don't want to even risk it. Even if he
Yeah.
could be a really good head coach, it's just like I need somebody who's just completely different from that situation.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It feels like it does. It feels like we need a cleanse, like just
Yeah.
a new slate, start something new, try something else. Um, on the Peterson thing, I hope it's just like they're just doing their due diligence, just because there is a coach out there with a Super Bowl ring, give him an interview, maybe not to get the job, but just for the look, so we could say I don't even know, or it means Nick Foles is back and Peterson and him are running it back. No, that's terrifying. I saw the look in your eyes there.
No.
I don't mean to scare you that much. What about a guy like gosh, what's his name? I had him in my head. No, here's my question. Defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, potentially coming back. Would you be down for them running it back? Because I would love for us to hire him back as a defensive coordinator.
Yes, because like I think the thing with unfortunately he kind of got inherited a kind of bad situation with the Broncos where he never really had a good quarterback, but the defense was always good. He was still
Yeah.
good on defense. So it's like there's nothing he didn't fall off there. And I think our defense did really well. They definitely brought back Fangio's style with Desai, rushing the passer consistently. But Desai definitely has his faults, and I would hate to I feel bad, I don't want to demote him, but it's also like Vic Fangio, it's like he fits so well with his team, and then we got Robert Quinn here, and just imagine him, and then Khalil Mack coming back healthy, Travis Gibson, all these different pass rushers, and like Fangio, Desai learned from Fangio. It's just going to even upgrade our defense even more. So it's like, I mean, if Fangio's for it, I'm for it because I think it would, unfortunately Desai, sorry, but like,
Yeah. It does suck because, the Bears defense had their moments where they kind of broke a little bit, but there were also some games where, they weren't necessarily playing with all their starters, and you got, completely depleted secondary, and, Eddie Jackson is just not the same anymore. And yeah, but it just, in my opinion, Vic Fangio is the best defensive coordinator in football.
yeah.
And some guys just are coordinators. It does suck that when he finally got his shot, it didn't work out, but he still is an amazing, amazing defensive coach. So I would want him back. One thing I saw on Twitter, Bears Twitter, one thing you were heavily a part of, I don't know if you saw, Jim Harbaugh as the head coach and Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator. What would you think about plucking Harbaugh from Michigan?
I understand Jim Harbaugh in the past has been pretty successful in the NFL. Of course, we know that. It's just been so long. And then I just kind of still have a bad taste in my mouth all those years at Michigan where Ohio State dominated him. And it took Justin Fields coming to us and leaving Ohio State for them to finally beat Ohio State. So it's like maybe he just works better in the NFL, and that's why he would be a good match, and maybe he would be a good leader, head coach type. Definitely different than Matt Nagy for sure. I just don't know if maybe he could be a little outdated at this point in terms of the NFL. It's been so long. That's my one concern, but I do see, his track record is really good in the NFL. And of course, Fangio's going to defensive coordinator no matter what. I would love that. I just have, my questions. I see where Jim Harbaugh could fit. I don't know. It's just been so long. I don't know how he would be in the NFL. It's been so long.
Sure. Yeah, and I think and I said it. I was texting my friend Jordan Jordan Arard Coupe earlier, and because she was like, I need you guys to hire Brian Flores. And I'm like, I'm all in. And we were talking about Fangio. No, we were talking about Harbaugh and college coaches. And I said, in general, I'm not a fan of bringing up a college coach to the NFL. But then immediately after that, I was like, I don't think I would hate Harbaugh though. But I think it is a little different because he has the NFL experience. But when was the last year he coached the NFL? 2012, 2013? Maybe even before that. So it's like, I don't think he would be my first choice, but I think it'd be something to shake it up. And I think it would be interesting. Another guy, a college name that they've floated out that I don't know how I feel about, but I'm curious how you would think just because of his connection with Justin Fields, is Ryan Day, his head coach from Ohio State. What would you think about them bringing him up?
I don't want it.
I don't want it either.
Here's the thing. I'm kind of with you. Like, college coaches, they just have kind of like a bad track record when it comes to transitioning over to the NFL. Like the reason why Jim Harbaugh would be different is because he started out he was at Stanford first, and then he came to the San Francisco 49ers. Wasn't that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he's been back and forth, and he's been successful in the NFL. That's the difference. Ryan Day, I just know him at Ohio State, and he inherited a really good program. So it was easy for him to transition and be successful there. And just seeing so many of these college coaches come over and kind of fail in the NFL. And here's the thing. I don't really care about the Justin Fields connection. I mean, you could I don't know how much that would benefit him. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know their history at Ohio State. I mean, did Ryan Day help develop him as a quarterback? I doubt it.
So the thing with that is because the NFL would be new to Ryan Day as well. Yeah. So how would that really help Justin, adjust and grow? I definitely, I agree with that argument for sure. Let's talk about Justin Fields a little bit. How do you grade his rookie season? And are you able to fully grade it? Because I don't think you are, because I don't believe that his coach had his best interest in mind. I don't believe the GM had his best interest in mind. He did some good things. He did some bad things. I mean, you and I believe on this show have talked about his turnovers, and that's something that he really needed to cut down on. It's something he struggled with. It's not good anytime you have more turnovers than touchdowns. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I've got the national championship game on. Georgia just had a 50-yard pass.
I have it on in the background too.
Oh, nice. I was like, holy shit. But speaking of, okay, so Justin, how do you grade that? Actually, before I get into that, you talked about college coaches. One of the college coaches in this game, Nick Saban, considered probably the best college coach ever. He didn't work out in the NFL. I think there's really been like one college coach that's truly, truly had success in the NFL, and that was Jimmy Johnson with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But other than that, Justin Fields, how do you grade his rookie season? Do you think how much more attractive do you think he makes this job to the potential candidates?
I'm kind of with you at the first point you made about how it's hard to grade him, because I feel like, first of all, the debacle with naming Andy Dalton the quarterback one from the jump was just like a fail from, and not giving Justin Fields any first team reps in training camp. In the preseason, he was playing with a bunch of backups, so he never had any reps with Allen Robinson when he finally started. So he was kind of set up to fail from the beginning by the coaches and their personnel decisions and just decisions in general. Mm-hmm. And then I think the injuries kind of like he would get in a groove, and then, he'd get hurt. It was the rib injury, then the ankle injury, and then, he gets COVID. So it's like, there's so much, it was such a roller coaster ride. I never really got a full picture of Justin Fields. And the offense that was being run is not conducive to him being successful. And there just never seemed to make any adjustments or cater to his strengths. So it's like, it was hard to, I saw some flashes against the 49ers.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Flashes. There was flashes everywhere.
Flashes where it's like, okay, this is why we drafted him. This is the excitement he brings, the wow plays. You would see him, see those plays here and there. It was just too spotty. It's because of just everything around him that he was dealing with. And then when he finally got some momentum, he would get hurt. So it's unfortunately, it was just kind of like a wash of a season for him. And of course, it ended this way where he doesn't even get to play the last game. And so it's like we never really got to, it just feels like unfinished business. We never really got to see a full picture of him. So I'm super excited to see a whole offseason with him. And I think, if anybody with, half a brain sees the situation and knows what he was dealing with, that he's not the problem, that it was everything around him. He didn't have any receivers to throw to. I mean, look at the receivers he was throwing to at some, it was Darnell Mooney and then a bunch of dudes. And then the coaching, the play calling was suspect. So it's like he has all the talent. He has all, the assets, the strengths. I think any, coach who's like GM or looking at this job, they're going to say, that's an attractive place because he has like all, the tools to be successful. He just needs the right pieces around him, the right coaching, and he just needs a little development. His two big issues, I think, are very, can be easily fixed. His fumbling issues, just like how to better protect the football, that can be fixed. How not to hold on to the ball too long, not take, unnecessary hits and sacks. Like these things can be fixed. But the things that, you can't teach, the way he, throws on the run, that kind of stuff, his speed, all that kind of stuff, his accuracy, that stuff you can't teach, and he has it. The little things that he needs to fix can be fixed. So I think that's a lot, can be very attractive to a coach.
Sure. So let me ask you this. So of the jobs that are open right now, we have the Bears, the Vikings, the Broncos, Miami, and Jacksonville. Where would you rank? Like, what if you are a prospective head coach? Like, what was your preferred destination if you could pick all five? I mean, obviously we're biased. We're Bears fans. Is the Bears job the best job open right now?
I mean, if you're just looking at the young pieces around, you think about like Justin Fields, David Montgomery, Darnell Mooney, and the offensive line. If you think about the young core that we have drafted so far or just on this roster, that can be attractive to a coach. It depends what a coach is looking for. But then you also got the Vikings, who I think are a more well-rounded team and who kind of like on both sides of the ball have a lot of talent and they draft really well. I think their only issue is they got Kirk Cousins. That's probably the one thing that's going to hurt them is like I don't know if that's going to be an attractive place for a coach, knowing that that's their quarterback, unless they're going to make a move to get another one. But Jacksonville, it's like I think the Vikings and Bears are kind of even. It just depends on what 1A,
1B, yeah.
What a coach would be looking for, like a team he could develop, like the Bears who have a lot of young talent, or maybe a Vikings team who has maybe more of a win now type of situation. They just maybe need to, possibly fix the quarterback situation or just, I don't know. I think the Vikings could be good. I think their quarterback is just holding them back. But yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, have a whole lot they need to fix. Broncos, they still have yet to find a quarterback unless Aaron Rodgers decides to jump over there. And the Dolphins, I mean, man, their defense is good, but I think Flores had a lot to do with that. And then you hear that Flores like wanted Justin Herbert over Tua. So it's like now their quarterback situation is a little shaky. So I think, like I said, it comes down to the fact that I think the Bears and Vikings are going to be probably the most attractive places for a coach.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you said it really well too. It's like, so do you want to come in? You want to have a young quarterback that you can mold and kind of really fit into your system, or do you want Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
But the rest of their team is incredible. Like, do you want Justin Jefferson? Yes. Do you want Dalvin Cook? Yes.
Like switch where like the Bears could get all their receivers and
oh yeah, I'm in. Who says no? Who says no to that trade? Oh, well, Katelynne, this has been an awesome little recap that we have done here. So I do have just a couple more questions. What did you think about, or what do you think about Bill Polian just like coming out of nowhere as like a part of this search? Like, what is that all about?
I have yet to forget about the Lamar Jackson situation, how he described him, and very suspect. I'm not going to get into the why he might feel that way about that quarterback. And then I'm thinking about the quarterback we have and how similar he is to Lamar Jackson. I'm thinking like, wait, Bill Pulling's going to be in charge of like hiring a GM, and it's like, and then they're talking in the press conference and they're not like giving a straight answer about their commitment to Justin Fields. I'm like, are they going to try to screw it up for us? And like, I'm not saying they're going to try to get rid of Justin Fields, but I'm worried because of his track record. And I feel like he's very outdated in terms of he doesn't understand the modern NFL and what would make a good offense and a good quarterback. So I'm just worried about the direction because I just don't think he has the right mindset or just like I just don't trust it. I don't trust him with my quarterback who I think has a lot of promise.
Yeah, it just felt weird, and I know he does have a lot of history. I mean, he won a Super Bowl. He's been with several NFL franchises, but it's like he's been out of football for how long? And he's just like, okay, yeah, I'll help you find whatever you need. One thing we didn't talk about really was GM candidates. I really only have one in mind, and it's kind of one that I don't think would happen, and it's a guy that, we talked a lot about wanting a coach with more experience. This guy doesn't have any GM experience. I just like the way he thinks about football, and I think he's got a good football mind. Former player, current ESPN analyst, the only person I like in the Monday Night Football booth, if we're being honest, Lou Riddick. I don't know what you think about that. I don't know if you have any potential GM candidates or people that you would like to see them hire. I just do know maybe let's get Ted Phillips out of there while we're at all this firing. Yeah,
definitely. There needs to be a complete overhaul with that front office. Like even like George McCaskey needs to be shifted out. I think we're going to deal with a lot of the same issues if those guys are still running the show. Riddick, I was a big fan of him coming to the Bears. I just think recently his I can't remember the exact takes, but some players that he's been high on, I'm like, really, dude? I don't know. I can't remember who, but I just know that like I'm kind of off on him now.
I got you.
Like I know that the Vikings, they just of course fired their coach and GM. Their GM is pretty good at drafting.
I mean, I would not hate it. I think he's worth a call. God, I don't remember. Hold on. Let me Google his name really quick because I don't remember his. But I mean, he's got Dalvin Cook. He got Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
He's Rick Spielman, and he was with the Vikings for quite a long time. And this was kind of out of left field that he was fired. I don't think he was expecting that. So I think he's worth a call. I don't know. I always love somebody with Chicago ties as well. Speaking of Chicago ties, did you see that thing with Olin Kreutz that came out this week that they offered him $15 an hour to be like an offensive analyst or like an assistant coach? Like that tells you how big of a fucking dumpster fire this front office is. They're offering people a former NFL player, one of the best offensive linemen to ever play for the franchise. Hey, we'll give you $15 an hour to help us out. Are you kidding me?
Like, this is why, like, the Bears are considered a laughingstock because this is how this team is run. Like, all the jokes come our way because of this crap. And then George McCaskey tries to double down and call Olin basically a liar today in his press conference. And just like, I don't think like Olin is lying about that.
No. What does he have to gain from lying about it? I mean, well, he's on the rate.
Yeah.
He's on the radio in Chicago every day. But I mean, I just don't understand. Like it's 100% believable if you are a fan of the team or you follow them at all.
Because I mean, them being cheap, that's not surprising.
Absolutely. I mean, they're cheap with the roster. They're gonna be cheap with the support staff as well. But I think that's all I have. Nagy, Pace, they're finally gone. Joyous day. Hopefully this is a step forward for the franchise. Hopefully we get this hire right, because knowing the Bears, there is still a possibility that we get this wrong. before I let you go, the last thing, if you had to grade this season for the Chicago Bears, what would you give it?
A D, probably. I wouldn't give
Yeah,
it an F because there were some shining moments with Justin and some other players.
right.
But it just of course Robert Quinn, can't forget him.
Mhm.
The season started out pretty nice for them, and then everybody just started getting hurt on the defensive side, specifically. And of course, the COVID outbreak where our whole secondary missed a game. So yeah, I just feel like there was a lot of adversity they were dealing with. And let's not even forget the refs that were trying to mess up their games too.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, it's
We
just like
can
there's too much just it wasn't fun to watch. That's the thing. It was
no.
not fun to watch. And there was so much excitement going into the season with Justin Fields, and it just felt like a complete disappointment because we didn't get to see all of them basically. So I would give it a D.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's an F. I think before the season, I said this team ceiling is like 9 wins, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like this is one year. I had no expectations going in. I had no idea. It's like,
Yeah.
are we starting Andy Dalton at quarterback? We still have Matt Nagy. Oh my God, Jameson Williams might have just tore his ACL. Oh, I think I just saw it pop. Oh my God, that's terrifying if you're watching the national championship. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted by it, but that he's getting like carried off the field. Oh my God. Anyway, it's just you're right. The flashes are what we saw from Justin Fields, and it's just crazy that it took the game where fucking Nagy was out with COVID for them to actually use him
Oh
correctly.
yeah, I
Where
forgot about
the
that.
special teams coordinator is the interim head coach, and he knows what to do with them.
Yeah.
So Chris Tabor for head coach, I guess. But anyway, I'll agree with you with the D because it's funny though. Because like I don't know how the hell we beat the Bengals. Like the Bengals are
I
insane. Like
know.
we did have like we got a game stolen from us, but in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
A couple more where we're just absolute ref shows. But you're right. There were some fun moments. The first half of the Packers game was fun. Matt Nagy was having fun. But there was a lot where it was just like, dude, this sucks. But hey, at least we're not, Giants, Jaguars,
Oh yeah, it could be
Jets,
worse.
or
It could be worse.
just helpless. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Here's to next year. Here's the future. Here's to hiring somebody great at GM and at head coach as well. Katelynne, one more time before we go, let us know where we can find all of your awesome content and your Twitter, any social media, whatever you want to plug. You've got the floor. It's all you.
All right, so you guys can follow me on my personal Twitter account at Katelynne Lener. That's where I tweet from the most, especially during games. Of course, now their season's over. I'm going to still be tweeting constantly about any off-season news, stuff like that. Also, the podcast Twitter account is at Bear Down Girl Pod. And of course, I will be dropping the recap episode tomorrow, and you'll be able to listen to that on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean app. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And get set for the off season. Gonna break down all kinds of stuff with all the moves that are gonna happen for sure.
Awesome. I'm going to add this in quick because I know we just ended. ESPN update from 30 minutes ago. Bears have requested permission to interview Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Not a guy I brought up, but I would absolutely love this hire. I love what he's done with Josh Allen. Josh moves his legs really well. Justin can move his legs really well. I think Josh probably has a better arm, but Justin can make all the big throws. We've seen it. I would not mind Brian Daboll as head coach.
I would just be curious how he would be as a leader in the locker room, because to me,
Sure.
it wouldn't
He
just
had no head coaching experience before.
yeah, that's my only concern is can he be a leader and a true head coach? Because I think that that's half the battle basically. So I'm just curious. I could hit or miss with him. I don't know.
Hit or miss. We'll have that conversation another day. 1 point. What if we go get somebody like that and then a guy like Vic Fangio or like a really experienced coordinator, and we have them. I don't know. We're not going to argue about this right now. Bear down. Thank you so much, Katelynne. Episode 95 of the Brew Party podcast is here. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It's got links to all of our episodes, ways to listen. It's got links to all of our social media, like our Twitter and our Instagram. We're at the Brew Party on both of those. We're at the Brew Party podcast on Facebook, and we are youtube.com/the Brew Party. Go ahead and subscribe and like this video. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us who you'd like to see in the front office and on the sidelines for the Chicago Bears. For Katelynne Lener, I'm Andy Hopper. This is episode 95 of the Brew Party podcast. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are officially out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.